Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed faculty, participants, and 250 host colleges, welcome to today's session. It is with immense pleasure to welcome our resource person, Yasasvi Surabhi ma'am. Her expertise and insight promise us to enrich, understand, and signify value to our today's session. I request SSV ma'am to take over the session.
Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody is doing fine. So, without getting any delay, let's start our today's topic, which is elastic load balancer. So, before going into that, can you tell me how many people were successful in creating a manual web server and auto web server and connecting to it successfully? Can you please raise your hands by to tell me that how many were successful in creating your web server both manually and automatically? How many people were successful in launching a web server and connecting to it successfully, like a simple HTML page? I can see people from YouTube are raising their hands. From the Zoom session, I can see only 3 participants raise their hands, and from the live chat, I can see so many people raising their hands. I encourage all of you to practice whatever we are going through in the session as soon as possible, because it might look very easy, but while launching we'll be getting so many doubts. And if you have any doubts, please try to refer to your online recorded video, the YouTube recording from the channel of Vision. So what do we know about elastic load balancer? I think that you are able to see my screen right now. Is my screen visible? Can you please confirm me? Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, nice. Okay. So what do we know about elastic load balancer? Is it an server like EC2, or is it a component we use it for some purpose? What do we know about it? Does anybody remember this elastic load balancer from our demo session? Does anybody
Collecting the
remember?
required resources like RAM and any other processors, whatever is that.
Mm-hmm. So if you remember the what I should say, the flow of how a request goes to a website, like I have showed you a little flow chart where the request comes through an internet to a DNS to a router 53, which is in turn pointed towards a elastic load balancer, which is in turn connected with the servers. So basically, an elastic load balancer is nothing but a component which helps maintain the balance of requests between the servers. So it has got three characteristics. So very, very important characteristics, and we'll see all three of them together. So the first characteristic is it acts as an common entry point of traffic. It acts as a common entry point of traffic. Why it is considered as a common entry point of traffic? If you remember the services flow chart, you would have remembered, apart from the elastic load balancer, we'll not see anything else uh, connected or acts as an entry point of traffic. So that is why it acts as a common entry point of traffic. That is the first characteristic of an ELB. Then the second one is, okay, let me demonstrate it as quickly as possible. So if there is an ELB, which is in turn connected with two web servers, but the flow of traffic is only through ELB. There is no other route to reach servers without ELB. So this is how the flow of traffic goes. So that is why it is considered as the common entry point of traffic. So now what is the second characteristic of an ELB? The second characteristic of an ELB is, from the name itself we can understand, it balances the load. It balances the load. So how it will balance the load? That is one important question everybody will think of. So how it will balance the load? Let me give you a little demonstration to that also. So when the traffic comes through an ELB, the load will be balanced in such a way that whenever a request comes in, it will be balanced between both the servers by exchanging the request rate in an orderly format by ELB to the servers. So if the infrastructure is this way, it goes this way. So what happens is, if one request goes here, the other request go to the second server, and so on and so forth. Then the other request again, it goes to the other server, while as the fourth request goes to the other server. So it will happen like this. That is how it balances the load between both the servers. So this balancing will happen to n number of servers, irrespective of how many servers are there. The same kind of balancing will happen between all the n number of servers by the ELB. Now let us talk about the third characteristic of an ELB, which is a very important characteristic, but yet everybody tends to forget it, which is nothing but routes traffic only to a healthy web server. It routes traffic only to a healthy web server. What do we mean by healthy web server? For example, for some reason, imagine that the ELB has reached its 100% capacity. So, like if one of the server reaches its 100% capacity, then what happens is immediately all the traffic will be routed only towards a healthy web server. So for some reason, unfortunately, if a web server has reached its 100% CPU utilization and crashes at some point, then immediately what happens is all the traffic is routed only towards a healthy web server. So let me just finish this demonstration. Then all the traffic is routed towards only a healthy web server. That is how ELB routes the traffic only to a healthy web server. So these are all the three characteristics of an ELB. So the first one is an elastic load balancer is a component basically which helps you maintain your website in a more balanced way, irrespective of how many servers are connected to it. So the first characteristic of an elastic load balancer is it acts as a common entry point of traffic. So only through an ELB, anybody can enter into anybody can connect to a server to reach a website. And the second characteristic of an elastic load balancer is it balances the load by exchanging the request between n number of servers it is attached to. And the third one is it routes traffic only to a healthy web server. So for some reason, if a web server has reached its 100% CPU utilization and has been crashed down, immediately all the requests will be sent to the second web server, which is a healthy web server only. Now I want to prove you all these 3 points. Yesterday we have launched 2 web servers. So currently we have both servers. We just need to create an ELB and I just need to prove you all these 3 points together. So let's go to the console first. So let us come back to our ribbon. You can see where the load balancer is here. So in the load balancing part, we can see there are load balancers. So I'm going to click on that. And currently I don't have any load balancer. So I'm going to click on create load balancer here, or you can click on here also. So I'm going to click on the red big orange button. Currently, like we have some load balancer types where we have is it a network related one, gateway one, or an application one. We are going to go ahead with a simple classic load balancer because many of the people are not familiar with gateway, application, and networking concepts. So let's create a classic load balancer. So here, the first thing it is asking is basically the load balancer's name. I'm just going to name it as my ELB. And then in the network mapping, I'm going to go ahead with my default. So it is asking me to select the mappings. I'm going to select all the subnets, like all the availability zones that I have. And the security group I have been using is FDP. So I'm going to remove the default one and I'm going to attach only FDP here. So these are the listeners of ELB. So I have a question here. Normally our web server is like our web server security group is having both 22 port and 80 port. But here in the listeners section, we can see it listens only to the 8443 ports. So now will there be any problem because of the 22 port, which is an extra port in our security group? Will it create any problem to ELB? What do you think? What do you think? Will there be any problem because of the 22 port for ELB? No problem. Why? Why do you think there will be no problem? What can be the reason? We have to remember that ELB is not an EC2 instance which reacts to the ports. It is just a component which is helping you manage the balance between your resources. So here, it will only react to HTTP and HTTPS ports which are there in the security group. It doesn't matter what are the extra ports are there. So this is the health check. So our load balancer automatically performs health checks. So according to the third characteristic of ELB, we understand that it is mandatory that an ELB should know when a server is healthy or not. So how can it know it? So for example, if I tell you that I got fever, how will you know that I have fever? You'll check my temperature using a thermometer or something like that, which will be a reference point for you to understand that I have fever. In a similar way, how will an ELB know that a server is healthy or not? With the help of the ping path, which acts as a reference health check reference point. So here we can see the ping path indicates root drive index.html. So if there is an index.html file, then that particular server is considered as healthy. And if it is not, then that is considered as an unhealthy file. So it is asking, like in the advanced health check settings, we can see there is the response timeout, there is the interval, and then there is an healthy threshold and unhealthy threshold. So these are all the minimum values to avoid the latency. Basically, what is the response timeout is, for example, if I ask, are you people listening to my session? Then you will respond with like, yes, we are listening to the session, right? So the time taken by a server to respond back to its request is called as a response timeout. So we can see 2 to 60 seconds is the time gap for the response timeout. And in that 2 is the minimest possible seconds that we can go ahead with in order to avoid latency. An interval is nothing but the time gap between two successive health checks is called as an interval. And the threshold, be it healthy or unhealthy, is the number of times and an ELB checks whether a server is healthy or not is called as threshold value. So these are all the minimal values that we can have for any ELB health checkup without having any latency. Now, in the instances tab, it is asking us to add the instances. I'm going to click add instances and I'm going to add both my servers, which is manual web server and auto web server. I'm not going to change any attributes here. This is a little summary of what we have given. And I'm going to create the load balancer. Let's go ahead and see the load balancer that we have created. This is the load balancer. I'm going to click on ELB. It is going to redirect me to a page of details. So you can see 2 of 2 instances are in service. So in the instances tab, I can see there are 2 instances which are in service. So here, like generally when we launch a web server, we'll see a public IP address, private IP address, public DNS and private DNS. Do we see any such kind of a thing here for ELB? Do we see any such kind of a thing here in ELB? No. We can only see a DNS, a single DNS. So with this, I can already tell you only through this, anybody can go inside a web server. So it acts as a common entry point of traffic. So let me copy the DNS and give it in the browser. So now which web server is responding back to us? Is it the first one or the second one? It is the first one, right? Now see, I'm going to prove you the second point. Tell me what happens. What is happening whenever I'm refreshing the page? What is happening whenever I refresh the page? So basically, whenever I request, like whenever I'm refreshing the thing, a new request is being sent and ELB is taking it as a traffic and it is balancing the load between both the servers that we have. So this is how it balances the load. Did I prove you the second point or no? So in real time, generally, we don't have different web contents like this. In real time, we have a single web content only. So we will never know which server is responding back to us. Okay. Here, I just gave two different web contents just for your understanding that actually the balance between the servers is happening correctly. But in real time, please keep it in mind that it doesn't have same web content. Sorry, it doesn't have different web contents. Okay. Now, what is the third point? What is the third characteristic of an ELB? Now, what is the third characteristic of an ELB? It routes traffic only to a healthy web server. Now, out of these two instances, I wanna break a server on a purpose. So how can I make a server unhealthy first of all? How can I make a server unhealthy first of all? Even if I give you this, I'm giving you this ELB link, you can also check it out. I'm giving it in the chat box here. You can also, everybody can check out our website page. Okay. Currently it is showing both the servers. Now I want to break a server. Even if I give the link for everyone else also, we cannot break the server. So how can we purposefully make a server unhealthy? Like I don't want to terminate it. So in YouTube comments, I can see the answer that I'm looking for. Thank you, DB Kulkarani. So yes, we are going to remove the index.html page from the web server because that is the only health check file that an ELB is considering for to check whether a server is healthy or not. Okay, so let us go ahead and remove the index.html page from a server and let's make it unhealthy as quickly as possible. So here I'm going to give ls. Currently I have the index.html page. I'm giving rm index.html. So it is asking like, do you want to remove the regular file? Yes. Now I don't have any index.html file. So let's go ahead. So being a cloud engineer, you will not go to your website to check whether a server is healthy or not. You have to go to your um, console only to know whether a server is broken or not. You can see the minute I remove index.html page from my terminal, it is immediately giving me the status of out of service. Now, no matter how much time you refresh the page, what is happening? Is the balancing happening here in this case? No matter how many times I refresh the page, is balancing of the servers is happening? No, because like it is routing traffic only to a healthy server because there is no index.html page. That's why an ELB considers that particular web server as an unhealthy web server. So let's now get it back into the correct working position. I'm gonna give everybody please stay on mute. So now let me give ls back. So now I have again my index.html page. Let's go back to our console. Now I can see again 2 web servers are in service. So now let's refresh and see. So again, it is back to square one where it has both the servers in a healthy format. So did I prove you all the 3 characteristics or not? Did I prove you? So now there is a thing that can be improved. Maybe there is a thing that can be improved, or there is a flaw in this, like not a flaw exactly, but there is a something that can be improved in this architecture. What is it? Can anybody tell me? What is it? Can anybody tell me? What is something that can be improved in this architecture? Can anybody tell me?
Load balancer.
Load balance. No, especially about the third characteristic. No, it's not about elasticity. Should be a secure connection. More web servers. Healthy web server. High availability. Route traffic. Like what you can understand from this picture actually, like from this diagram, what you can understand. Just from this diagram, what you can understand. Yes, Kulkarani, a question from YouTube. Like, yeah, we can ensure all the requests comes through only ELB only. It has to be done. More load on one server. Thank you, Janaki, ma'am. So, because, like, for example, this web server has reached its 100% CPU utilization. And now all the traffic, the same kind of traffic which utilized all the CPU of this particular server is only coming to this server. So what happens at one point, this server also will break down. At one point, this server also will break down. It will reach its 100% capacity and it will also break down. So now what we will do? What is the solution in this case? Like, the minute this thing happens, do we see anywhere, do we see any third web server being launched to this particular in this particular situation? Do we see any third web server launching immediately? Do we see this thing happening? Is it happening this way? No, right? We don't see any new web server launching here. So now how can we overcome this situation? That is the main question. Now, how can we overcome this situation? Yes, Midhina ma'am. Automatically another server should be launched. So yes, Janaki ma'am. So using ASG, now it comes into the picture a feature called ASG, the very, very important feature why everybody is wanting to use AWS cloud services is mainly because of this. So ASG comes into the picture, which is nothing but auto scaling groups. Auto scaling groups. The job of an auto scaling group is pretty simple. So whatever that we tried to do till now, like maybe launching a server or connecting it to an ELB, everything is a manual process. So now why we are using any smart technology? We just don't involve any human intervention over there. Because if there is human intervention, like there can be a little delay, there can be a little latency. So how can we now make everything automatic with the help of auto scaling groups? So what is the job of an auto scaling group? What is the job of an auto-scaling group? The first job of an auto-scaling group is to launch web servers automatically. To launch web servers automatically. And now, what is the second job of an ASG? The second job of an ASG is to attach these launched web servers to an ELB. So these are the two jobs of an auto scaling groups. Okay. These are the two jobs of auto scaling groups. So now, in order to create any auto scaling group, we have some prerequisites that should be filled up. So what are these prerequisites? There are three prerequisites that needs to be filled up. So please make sure that all your mics are off. If you have any background noise, please make sure that all your mics are off. So the 3 prerequisites that any time that we require in order to create an auto scaling group are, the first one is a launch template. A launch template. The second one is scaling policies. Third one is ELB. So these are the 3 prerequisites of an ASG. So launch template, scaling policies, and ELB. Regarding ELB, we just learned what is an ELB. Okay. And launch template is nothing but, where you give your specifications or the configuration. Like, in order to let ASG know how you want your web server to be launched is what a launch template is all about. We might have heard about, resume templates or CV templates, online. Basically, there will be a CV template or a resume template, which is already being used, or a standard template, and we just need to remove their information and put in our information. So in a similar way, launch template is something where we store, in order to let ASG know how to launch a web server. For example, what is the kind of AMI you require? What is the key pair you require? What is the security group you want? What is the instance type you are looking for? So these are all the things that in auto scaling launch template that you are going to store, and it will be utilized by ASG through this launch template. So in order to how to launch a server is defined in the launch template. And scaling policies is like, we are already telling how to launch it, and we are, with the help of ELB, we are already showing it how to balance it. So in order to tell how to, like, when to launch it is the case here with scaling policies. In order to let ELB understand when to launch a server. For example, if CPU utilization is more than 90%, maybe launch a server. If CPU utilization is less than 30%, actually, maybe remove a server, because why to pay bill unnecessarily? So such kind of policies are defined in scaling policies. So one is the launch template, and the other one is the scaling policies, and the third one is ELB. So you might ask me, why we would require to use both ASG and ELB? Do we see any new web servers launching up in the ELB environment? No. It is good to balance the load. It is good to check whether a server is healthy or not, all such kind of things. But whenever a situation comes where you require, like when a heavy traffic is coming in, do we see any new server launching up here? No, it is not happening here. It is only concentrating on how to balance the load and how to make sure that people land on a healthy server. And do we see any load balancing here in ASG part? No, it is all about launching web servers automatically. Like, for example, your website has been crashed down, but you don't have any second shift. So till the next day that you reach to your office, your website is facing a downtime. So in order to avoid such kind of situations, ASG will help you to launch servers automatically. And it is attaching these launch servers to ELB also. But do we see any load balancing happening here? No. So in interviews, generally for anybody, they will be asking questions like, how can you make your website healthy, like your website and a balanced website, and also a highly available website. So highly available is nothing but like 24/7, 365 days available for the customers, because at some part of the world it is a day, and we never knew which customer will look up to your website in what time. So you have to make sure that 24/7 your website is up and running without any delays or crashing down of the servers. So can we see any balancing of that here? No. So in order to make sure that your website is highly balanced and highly available, you have to go ahead, like the infrastructure that you have to build should be a couple mechanism of ELB and ASG together, because ELB helps you to balance your website while ASG makes sure that your website is highly available. That is why ELB and ASG will go hand in hand. So these are the two jobs of ASG, what it does, and these are the prerequisites of ASG. Now let's go to the console. Let's create a launch template. Scaling policies, we'll define them along with the auto scaling groups. And ELB, we just knew how to create it. So I'll show you how to terminate it and just create a void instance, like a void ELB. So let's go to the console. I'm going to close this. I'm going to terminate the ELB that I have created just now. So we can delete an ELB like this. So do we see any launch template on the screen here? We see it, right? So I'm going to click on launch template. So currently I don't have any launch template. I'm going to create a new launch template here. So create launch template. And I'm going to name it as my ASG LT. And the template version is nothing but a demo or a description or a practice session or something. Now you tell me, should we mark this thing or not? Now you tell me, should we mark this thing or not? We would require it, because why we are going ahead with the ASG to make the whole process a automatic thing instead of a manual thing. So if we forget to mark this thing, then the whole process is again manual, and there is no use of using an auto scaling group if it is a manual thing. So please do not forget to mark this thing. Then it is asking us to choose an AMI. So I'm going to browse an AMI and select a Linux, Amazon Linux AMI here. I'm going to select it. I can see it is a verified provider and a free tier eligible. So unlike everyday launching system, in launch template, you have to select your instance type, everything manually. So I'm going to go ahead with the free tier eligible. So most of us might think, it is just like launching a server. All the options are the same. No, we have to select every little detail with our own manual process. So I'm going to go ahead with FDP here, my key pair name. And I'm going to go with the existing security group, which is FDP again. And the root volume is same. And do not forget that we want to make it a web server while launching itself. That means in the launch template, we have to make use of the user data box to give bin bash commands. So does anybody remember why we are using bin bash commands? Can anybody answer me why we are using bin bash command here?
To convert user data.
To what? For what purpose?
To convert the text into terminal.
Exactly. Thank you, Avinash. To convert the text into terminal. So today is Thursday. So Since our user data box is a text format one, we are using winbash command to convert it into a terminal so that all our commands can be fired up. So these are all the commands that we are giving. And remember, unlike ELB, we don't get different web content because the same launch template will be used for n number of servers to get launched by the ASG. So I just finished up giving all the commands here. So I'm going to create launch template. So my launch template has been created. Now I'm going ahead to create a load balancer without attaching any instances. So why I'm not going to attach or why? Okay, let's first terminate my instances here. Yeah, I have terminated them, I guess. No, I didn't. So let's terminate my instances first of all, because I no more require it. Because whose job it is to launch any web servers? Whose job it is to launch any web servers?
ASG.
ASG's job. So we no more need to worry about any web servers here. So I'm just gonna create a load balancer. I'm gonna give the mapping to all the 3 availability zones again. And I'm gonna give the security group that I've been using right now, FDP. Listeners are good. And my threshold value, I'm gonna give 2 times because I can't wait 10 times. Then I'm not adding any instances because it is not my job to attach these instances here. I'm just going to create load balancer. So a load balancer has been created. I'm just going to open it in another tab so that when an ASG attaches instances here, we'll understand it. Now I'm going to go to the auto scaling groups. So currently I don't have any auto scaling groups. I have already created 2 prerequisites of ASG and scaling policies. I'll define them here only. So how many steps are involved in creating an ASG here? You can see there are 7 simple steps that we can use to create an auto scaling group. First, it is asking me to give a name to it. I'm just going to give my ASG. And it is asking for a launch template. So do we have a launch template? Is this our launch template?
Yes.
So let's go ahead with it and it will give you all the details that we have given here. Next. So it is asking for the networking thing. We are going with the default network only. And now tell me, in the availability zones and subnets, I have 3 options to select. What should I go ahead with? What should I select? Or what should I go ahead with? Out of the 3 availability zones, what should I go ahead with? All 3. Why, Shobit? Why do you think we need to take all the 3, Shobit? In fact, it is. I didn't get your answer, Suhasini ma'am.
Like whichever availability based on availability. That is.
Ma'am, to minimize the traffic. Okay. Like selecting all the availability zones is a correct response. But why we are doing it is, even though if one crashes down, you don't need to worry for your availability of the website. Okay, because if you remember the geographical image that I have given you, and have given you an example of like if Europe has got the tsunami and all, we don't need to worry for any for data loss or anything. So always to have high availability of a website, it is always good to go with multi availability zone. Exactly, Kiran Kumar sir. If one AZ is down, then still we can access servers from other AZs. Exactly, that's the whole point. So always going with multi availability zones is key in any aspect. So then the instance type requirements have been taken from the launch template. If you want, you can override the launch template, but I'm good with my T2.micro, which is free tier eligible. So I'm going to go for next. So it is asked. So what is our case here? Are we going with no load balancer, or do we need to attach an existing load balancer or attach a new load balancer? What is our case
Existing
here?
load balancer.
We need to go ahead with existing load balancer. And is it from the load balancer's target group or a classic one?
Classic.
Exactly. It's a classic one. I'm going to select classic. And if I simply click on this, it is going to fetch the ELB that I have. So I'm going to select it. So apart from the EC2 health checks, it is always recommended to turn on ELB health checks as well, which will help us to handle the requests and balance it properly. And this is the health check grace period. So before we finish initializing, like whenever we launch a server, we'll see it is running immediately, but we don't see the 2x2 health checks passed, like it is still initializing. So before finishing your initializing, there will be a grace period of time to have the first health check, but we cannot wait 300 seconds. I'm going to give some 10 seconds or so. So CloudWatch is a service. It is a monitoring tool. Then there will be no Mithuna ma'am. Then there will be no balance to your website. So sometimes if one server crashes down, we never knew will we land upon a crashed server or a healthy server. So no load balancer is a case where we can't expect any balance in the website. So CloudWatch is a service which helps us in monitoring all the So that is what. So this is a monitoring service which helps us to track down all the monitorings. So, but for the moment, we don't require any CloudWatch service right now. I'm going to just go for the next thing. Now comes the scaling policies. So for example, now tell me, imagine that mine is a very small company. So I'm just going to give 3 as my minimum capacity and maximum as 10. What would be my desired? What would be my desired? If my minimum capacity of paying a bill is for 3 servers and maximum is 10 servers for a month, what will be my desired?
Three.
You can see, specify the size of an auto-scaling group by changing the desired capacity. You can also specify minimum and maximum capacities, but your desired capacity must be within the range limit. Yes, sure, sir. It should be between 3 and 10. So, but instead, I can choose any number I want between 3 and 10, but I'm going to go ahead with only 3. Why? Desired capacity is nothing but I'm asking AWS ASG to run 24/7 this many servers, my desired capacity servers, so that my website will be available. But I can take any number from 3 to 10. But why I'm going with only 3? because that is the only free tier storage that I am getting, to have free servers. That is why I'm going with only 3 servers. I can even go for 7 servers or 10 servers, but my free tier eligible storage will not allow me to use more than 3 servers for free. And all we are trying to do is use maximum resources as flexibly as we can within the free tier storage limit by steering clear from the bill. So that's why I'm giving the desired as 3. Now the scaling policies, of course, I want a scaling policy. So I don't want to go with none. So in the target tracking policy, I'm going to go ahead with CPU utilization target. So the target value, I'm not going to give 50, I'm going to give 90. So if it reaches 90%, I'm asking AWS to launch a server. So instances need dash seconds warm up. So basically before including the metric, how many seconds we would require, to count the CPU utilization. I'm just going to give some 10 seconds here. So should we mark this thing or not? Should we mark this thing or not?
We should not.
We should not. Why? Why, Nataraju sir?
If you enable this one, then we can only add the servers, but we'll never turn it off. So it's a waste of resource once that other servers come up.
Exactly, because all we are looking for is a two-way route, not just a one-way route, because we want to increase the servers and as well as smartly manage it to remove the servers whenever we don't want it, or whenever the traffic is very, very low. So that's why we should not mark this. Please do not mark it. And then the scaling protection. This is an optional service. We can enable it to newly launched instances. To immediately multiply and all. So next. So notification service, we have already, like as in customers of Amazon, Flipkart, and all the other e-commerce businesses, we have almost experienced this SNS service so much that our order has been picked, our order has been delivered, or it has been confirmed. All those messages we are getting it through a service called SNS only, simple notification service. So here why it is being provided is, for example, if anybody from your team is trying to make some changes to your ASG, even with your suggestions or anything, everybody should get notified about the changes. So that's why we have an simple notification service here, where you will get a message to your mail stating that some things has been changed. So it is like a tracking or notification thing, a service. Currently, we don't require it since I am the only one performing this. And we can add additional tags to it, like maybe whenever it is launching, it is going to launch with this tag, and it is a key value pair. So I'm just going to give web server as the value in the name space. SNS is nothing but simple notification service, Shobit sir. Next. So it is all the review page. I'm just going to create auto scaling groups. So we can see, if I refresh this page, you can see already 2 instances has been launched and my desired capacity is 3. So let me open EC2 in another tab so that we can track how many servers are being launched. So we can see, did we launch this server ourselves or who launched it for us? So it has So ASG has launched this. You can see the second one is also launched. Everybody please stay on mute. So it has launched these servers. And let us see what the first job of ASG is to launch them. And what is the second job of ASG? To attach them to the ELB. So let's go ahead and see in the ELB page whether it is being attached or not. Currently, it is not at, there are no instances registered to it. So I'm just going to wait it out. Let me refresh the page once. You can see 2 of 3 instances are in service. So did we attach them to the ELB? We didn't. And we can see 1 is still out of service because it is being initialized, and 2 are in service. So even though 1 is out of service, our website will be working like a pro. So let's copy it. Let's give it here in the browser. So we can see our website working. And no matter how many times we refresh the page, we never understand or we never know which instance, like which server is responding back to us. Because in real time, there will be a similar web content, unlike the ELB example. You see, no matter how many times I refresh, I don't know which server is responding back to me right now. It can be an US server or an Australian server, like in the instance in the real time I'm talking. So for example, for some reason, 2 of my servers has been crashed down. So immediately what happens? My website will be still working because 1 is still in service. So let's just refresh. We can see. So 2 are out of service already. So my page will work normally only. And what ASG will do in order to recover the situation, ASG will launch another server to get this situation into control. So if we wait 2 or 3 seconds more, we can see a new instance being launched. So it has been terminated completely. The other one is shutting down. So let's just give it a second. And let's see here the number has been changed or not. So now I have a question. Like every day I asked you to terminate the instances and log off, right? So if you turn off your instances here and log off, is everything okay? You will not get a bill?
The free tier express.
Again, the auto scaling group will launch the desired capacity of servers. You can see the instances number has been increased. Now it has launched the 4th server as well. See, the second thing has been launched. So in the given time, again, the 3rd server also will be launched. So in order to eliminate this situation completely, we just need to terminate the auto scaling group first. So go to actions, delete, and delete the thing. Automatically, all the web servers will be gone along with the web servers. Like along with the auto scaling group, both the web servers also will be gone to a terminated state. So after this, we have to terminate our ELB as well. So let's come to ELB here. So the status is still being deleting. So let us come to an load balancer, and let's terminate our load balancer as well. So always AWS will ask you for a second pop-up to just make sure that you are in the current state of mind while doing an action. So after deleting ASG and ELB, what is the remaining thing? You can see only one running EC2 is there, and this will also will be gone. We need to remove the launch template also. We need to terminate it. So select the launch template, go to actions, delete template. So this is how you make sure that your website is highly available, and you can see there are no currently running instances. Everything is being turned off by the auto scaling groups. So this is also in the deleting state. In a few seconds, everything will return to the normal. So this is how we can balance the load for our website, and as well as launch new web servers to take the burden of the website whenever there is huge traffic. So I hope you learned about how to balance your website and how to dynamically scale your servers whenever you require new servers. So that is for today evening. So thank you so much for your patience and for your cooperation for this session. Thank you.
Ma'am, where can you find the use case of ASG without ELB? There was one option called a no ASG without no ELB option. There is a toggle.
Yes, sir. You can use it, but it will be a no balanced website which is highly available. So which makes no sense for any corporate website.
Yeah, it is meaningless. But then, is there any specific use case Amazon has thought would need that?
No, because there will be so many, sometimes there will be some static web pages where you don't need to have any dynamic changes to it and all. So in such cases, maybe, in S3 also you can hold or host a static website. So for such kind of things, you don't require any load balancer to balance the load, because there'll be very few people using it and all. So for that, such kind of cases, there is an option given to it, and it has already announced that it will be removed in a very near future, as the console is being evolved every now and then. Like, it is not like this 3 months back, and in the next 3 months or 6 months, it is not going to look the same way. So many options are going to change. So it is the part of the process. Like, so that option also will be gone in few days. So there is an intimation about it, but the use case is for that particular purpose, like where we can have some static web pages where you don't require so much of balancing of the website.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. With this, we have now entered the phase where we are prepared to address any doubts participants have. So participants are encouraged to post their questions in the chat box, and our mentors are here to provide comprehensive answers and guidance. Now, we kindly urge all participants to take a moment to complete the feedback form posted on Telegram groups and YouTube chat boxes. Kindly note that the feedback is used for attendance and certificate will be distributed accordingly.
It has been such an honor to be a part of this wonderful session. We extend our wholehearted gratitude to our resource person, Yashasvi Surabhi ma'am, whose profound insights have significantly enriched our AWS faculty development program. To all the participants, your unwavering commitment to advancing your skills is truly commendable and inspiring. We also extend special thanks to the 250 host colleges whose enthusiastic collaboration and invaluable contributions have greatly enhanced the impact of this program. Kudos to the organizing team whose seamless and tireless efforts ensure the smooth execution of every aspect of the program. Let's carry forward this knowledge and spirit for tomorrow. Thank you.